Broadcasting live from somewhere in the Shadow Realm, this is YuGiOh Deck Talk. Here's your host, Doug Dimmaduel.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of YuGiOh Deck Talk. Today, we're going to have a little fun and just get some ideas on building an Exodia the Forbidden One deck. This one's just fun to play around with. I know it's not a competitive deck or anything like that, but I'm seeing quite a few people having a lot of fun building these and having some success even as a surprise in some more competitive events. But I want to go through some of the major pieces in building an Exodia deck, and then I want to hear about your experiences as well as far as building more successful Exodia decks and just the overall strategy and making it happen and getting the Exodia win. So the first card that I'm having in here is Armageddon Knight, level 4 warrior, 1400 attack, 1200 defense. When this card is summoned, you can send one dark monster from your deck to the graveyard. So what this does is actually set you up for future moves, potentially pulling some cards out of your graveyard or doing other things like that. But you'll see why there's a few spells and a few other monsters that come into play with your graveyard. Next we have Emissary of the Afterlife, a level 4 fiend, 1600 attack, 600 defense. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, each player adds one level 3 or lower normal monster from their deck to their hand. So what that does for you, if in the event that this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, so it doesn't matter how, it doesn't have to be by battle, it doesn't have to be by card effect, it just, all that matters is that it's sent from the field to the graveyard, is you're able to search out any of the arms or the legs of Exodia since they are normal monsters. So from there, you also have Magician of Faith. This one can come into play pretty well. It's a spellcaster flip, 300 attack, 400 defense. Its flip effect is target one spell card in your graveyard and add that target to your hand. I like this card, and I know it's a really big throwback. This is a pretty old card, but at least what this one does is just allow you to recycle some of your spell cards that you may want to use again. Also in here, we have another really solid searcher that recently was unbanned. Sangan, level 3 fiend, 1000 attack, 600 defense. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, add one monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. But you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with that name for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect of Sangan once per turn. So what Sangan really does is allow you to search out your Exodia the Forbidden One, which is, of course, your final piece between the arms and the legs. Exodia the Forbidden One is the level 3 spellcaster, 1000 attack, 1000 defense. If you have right leg of the Forbidden One, left leg, right arm, and left arm of the Forbidden One, in addition to this card in your hand, you win the duel. So you want to end up having all these cards in your hand. Having Exodia the Forbidden One, you could get searched out by Sangan. However, you cannot activate that effect the turn that you get it from Sangan. And that's just Sangan's effect. Outside of these searcher cards, I do run multiple copies of Marshmallow on here, kind of a way to bide time. It's a level 3 fairy, 300 attack, 5000 defense. After damage calculation, if this card was attacked and was face down at the start of the damage step, the attacking player takes 1000 damage. Cannot be destroyed by battle, so keep that sucker in defense position, and your opponent will have to use effects or spells or traps to get rid of Marshmallow because it cannot be destroyed by battle. So pretty good card. Next, we have Sphere of Chaos, a level 5 machine, 1600 attack, 0 defense. While this card is face up on the field, its attribute is also treated as light. Once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by battle. When this card is tribute summoned, you can add one level 3 monster from your deck to your hand. So this either allows you to add Exodia the Forbidden One to your hand, or even Sangan to your hand, anything along those lines. So this is basically a card that can set you up as long as you have the tribute available. So that's why you could take advantage of having a Marshmallow on, or even a Spirit Reaper, something that can't be destroyed by battle, and then set yourself up for a Sphere of Chaos tribute summon, and then utilize that effect. So, of course, in this deck, you're going to have one of each. You're going to have the left arm, the left leg, the right arm, and the right leg of the Forbidden One. They're all level 1 spellcasters, 200 attack, 300 defense. I believe they're all the same there. So just keep in mind you're going to have those pieces, otherwise you won't win. Next you have Dark Eruption. We're getting into the spell cards now. This one is a normal spell where you target one dark monster with 1500 or less attack in your graveyard and add that target to your hand. So you can see why it's not really a big deal having some of your Exodia pieces end up in your graveyard, like having Armageddon Knight activate its effect to put a dark monster in the graveyard, because you can end up just fishing it out of there when you're ready by using a card like Dark Eruption. Next here you also have Dark Factory of Mass Production. Target 2 normal monsters in your graveyard. Add those targets to your hand. So if you have multiple pieces of Exodia the Forbidden One, if you have 2 of the arms, 2 of the legs, or whatever, you're able to take 2 of them out at the same time because they are normal monsters and they're sitting there in your graveyard. So Dark Factory of Mass Production is a fantastic card. Now, in the spirit of searching even further, aside from having those monster effects to allow you to search, there's a spell card here, Gold Sarcophagus. Banish 1 card from your deck face up. During your second standby phase, after this card's activation, add that card to your hand. So, I know it takes a little bit of time before you get the card in your hand, but this is effectively a great search card. It keeps it banished, so your opponent really can't mess with it. And then when it's that second turn, or that second standby phase after you activate the card, hey, you get that monster back into your hand. So I really like that one a lot. Also here too, I also have copies of Monster Reincarnation. It's a normal spell where you discard 1 card, then target 1 monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So depending on your situation, this can come into play really well. What I also do in this deck, just as more of a way to bide time, is have Swords of Revealing Light. It's a throwback. It may not be all too useful nowadays, given how effective cards are at clearing back rows and all that stuff now, but hey, it's still worth a shot. If you don't remember Swords Revealing Light, this is a throwback card. You flip all monsters your opponent controls face up. This card remains on the field for 3 of your opponent's turns. While this card is face up on the field, monsters your opponent controls cannot declare an attack. So if your opponent has no answer for this spell card and really can't do anything, then they just can't attack for 3 turns. This gives you a lot more time to start searching out your Exodia pieces and doing what you got to do to get all 5 into your hand. So, other ways to just bide time is negate attack. It's a counter trap where when an opponent's monster declares an attack, target the attacking monster, negate the attack, then end the battle phase. So, yeah, that's really solid all around. I also, too, like to run Magical Mallet, the normal spell card where you shuffle any number of cards from your hand into the deck, then draw that same number of cards. So if you got a bad hand, you don't have too many of the cards that you want, shuffle them back into your deck and give it another shot. Maybe you'll get another few pieces of Exodia that you're looking for that way. So, overall, not so bad at all. There is the Exodia card Obliterate, and what that is a continuous spell card where you can target 1 monster on the field, send 1 Forbidden One monster or Exodia card from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, return that target to the hand. If this card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, you can target 1 Forbidden One monster or Exodia card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. You can only use 1 Obliterate effect per turn, and only once that turn. So this one really helps get you set up as well for your Exodia pieces. So overall, these are just a lot of the major players that you could use to build yourself an Exodia deck. Hopefully you can either throw one together on YuGiOh Pro or put a deck together like this and bring it to your locals. A lot of these card pieces can be found in the Yami Yugi Legendary deck that's part of that Legendary Duelist 2 box set that you can get at Walmart or Amazon. I think it was around $30. And it does have all the Exodia pieces. It does have a copy of Gold Sarcophagus. It does have Sangan in there. It has Marshmallow in there. It has quite a few of the cards. I want to say it has Armageddon Knight, but I can't remember at this point. But like I said, there's just a lot of pieces that you would want for an Exodia deck. Of course, because it was Yugi's deck. So, but still. This is just an all-around good setup. I think it's a lot of fun to play, and it really, really hits me in the heart right here because it's nostalgic for me. Getting those Exodia wins is just something that I always loved doing when the game first came out and when we were first playing before we started getting really complex with play style and everything. But in a way now, you can make a good Exodia deck, and you can make it work against quite a few solid decks these days. So, I'd love to hear your feedback, your opinions on some of your Exodia deck builds, because I'm sure some of you have done much better builds of these decks that have been a lot more effective. So, I'd like to hear what your take on it is, what your combos are, what your game plan is for having a solid Exodia deck and getting Exodia as soon as possible. If you have any suggestions or any comments, reach out on Twitter at YuGiOh Deck Talk. It's all one word, at YuGiOh Deck Talk, and I'd be happy to revisit this topic in an upcoming podcast. So anyway, that's it for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Take care.